Okay, I'll tell you the stories and you guys tell me if it makes sense because it doesn't make sense to me. So these are two weird, since we just had Halloween, I'm calling them spooky book coincidences that you tell me what it means because I don't really get it. Like, one of the things kind of makes sense. Makes sense. Why don't I just tell you? First spooky book coincidence happened summer 2019. I was at one of my favorite book sales. I was going to say library book sales, but it's a long story. It's kind of our 4th of July thing where they have a book sale. Anyway, it's a long story. I was at a book sale. That's really the only important part of this. I was going along it's like the library donates used books and like the community donates books for this event. And so I'm just, it was outdoors with a tent and I'm just perusing these books. And at the time, so this was 2019, and I was very locked in with a very certain type of book. And so when something pulls to me that is not in my normal genre, I'm like, what is this about? Like, it doesn't make sense. So I was going through the books and I was in a section that nowadays I would absolutely be checking out. But in those days, I was like, this isn't really my genre, but hey, it's a book sale. I might find something. So I'm going along, and I see the spine of the book. So everything, all the books are in boxes on tables, so when you look down, you can see the spine of the book. So I look down and I see this beautiful spine of a book. And, feel free to Google this cover because I'm going to be talking a lot about the cover because, yeah, that's pretty much it's 90% of what made me want to read the book, maybe 80%. So Google the book called The Quilter's Legacy by Jennifer Chiaverini. It is a Elm Creek Quilts book number 5, okay? Quilter's Legacy by Jennifer Chiaverini. Now, once you Google that, you will maybe see why I was so drawn to the, at first I could only see the spine. It was gorgeous. It looked like very like flowery, just beautiful, just very vintage, but it was beautiful. Like I said, feel free to Google it. You'll see, because I don't know the editing thing where you like put up an image of the book. Anyways, so I was at this book sale in a section that I, at the time, was not normally perusing or interested in. And I see the spine of this book. It's beautiful. And I walk past it just because I'm like, well, it's beautiful, but it's not my genre. It's not I'm not in the section of the type of books that I read. So I kept walking, but something in me was just like, get back to that book. Go to that book. Go to the book. I was like, why? Because this doesn't make sense. I'm not going to buy it and I'm not going to read it. I probably won't like it. This is not my genre. At the time, it wasn't. But I kept thinking about it. And to me, there have been many times in my life where if an idea just keeps coming back and is done in a certain way that would take too long to explain, I usually am like, okay, there's something to this. What's going on? So I go back to the book and I pick it up, and you'll see when you Google it. The cover is just beautiful. And so I was like, oh, wow, this is beautiful. Okay. And then I was like, well, what's this thing about anyways? And so I either looked on the back or like the inside cover, and it said that it was like all about exploring. It's fictional, totally fictional. And it said that it was about like a woman trying to understand, I think it was like she was trying to understand her mother and her grandmother's history and how that connected to their quilting tradition. And just, there were difficulties between her and her mother or her and her grandma. I can't remember. Maybe it was her and her mother. And so it seemed to be all about like exploring the family history behind a relative in the hopes of understanding what is behind someone's difficult behavior. So, I mean, now if I would have picked that book up, I'd be like, yeah, I'm reading this. Of course I'm going to love this. But at the time, that was not my genre. And I was like, well, this is different than what I normally read, but I loved that it was about like mothers and daughters and grandmothers and daughters, granddaughters, like exploring family history. And I was like, this, I don't know, I should get it. So I bought it. It sat on my shelf for months. And eventually I was like, I just need it. I'll just read it. I don't know. And if I don't like it, I'll just know that I didn't like it and it's fine. But I was reading it and what I thought was going to be just this like light, not lighthearted. Like I thought it would be this very kind of like more tame, like not tame. I don't know how to explain it. I didn't think it would have so many traumatizing things in it, like people experiencing trauma. Like I wasn't expecting that. So it was actually like a lot of horrible things happening to these people. They lived, it goes back to like the family, her ancestors to like the 1800s and forward, and how things went, like relationships between family members, and they were treated this way or this happened, so that's why this person ended up being like this or making these choices. It sounds good, but like the things they were introducing that were happening, like it was done in flashbacks or like dual perspectives, I guess you would call it. So you had the modern current day adult daughter, and then they would do like whole chapters going back in time. Like she's not going back in time, you know what I mean? Whole chapters devoted to the perspective of either her mom or her grandma back in like the 1800s. And what she was going through and things like that. So as I was reading the part that was happening in the 1800s, that's where all the very like really sad kind of traumatic things happen. And there was one plot element to the story I really wasn't expecting, didn't even remember at all from history lessons. I guess I learned it. I don't remember learning about it. So in the 1800s sections, these fictional characters, so it's turning out to be like historical fiction, these fictional characters are being portrayed on like, there's the sickness that is spreading. Oh, it's getting closer. Oh, wow, it's been in our neighboring state. Like first it was like, oh, it's in our country now. Oh, it's in our state. Oh, it's in the neighboring city. And like, as I was reading those parts of the story, I was genuinely feeling, I was feeling like I was someone in that time hearing of this sickness, mass sickness. You never know what YouTube is going to do. So the word for a mass sickness that is around the world in many places. So it was like the 1816 real historical, was it 1816 or 1812? Anyway, 1800s version of that. And in the story, I was feeling, as I read the story, I wasn't just like reading and like, wow, oh my goodness, that's so tough. Like it was actually really bothering me in like a more than normal type of way. And I was feeling the anxiety. That's the only way I know to describe it. I was feeling the anxiety of the people in that story as if it was happening to me. And I would, I stopped reading for a little bit and I'd be like, okay, I need to find out what parts of this story are accurate. Like, was it really this bad in our country? Like, very naive. Or just forgetful of history, I guess. So anyways, I started Googling the mass illness from around the world that hit the world, including our country. I'm in, the States, United States, and the book, that's where the setting was. I think Pennsylvania. I think it was set in Pennsylvania in like the 1800s. So I was like, did it really reach there to this extent? Like it was bad. Like many of this woman's family members didn't make it. Like, it gives details on like her role in trying to care for people. Like, it was, to me, it was intense. And I have mentioned in other videos, I am extra sensitive to things. But anyway, so even when I paused reading the book to do research on this giant historical event that I was reading about, even as I was reading about this true historical event that was in this historical fiction book, I was still feeling as if I was in that situation of a worldwide sickness getting closer and closer and then affecting people you know. Okay, let me tell you again the dates of when I got that book. It was the summer of 2019. I waited months and months to read it. I started reading it. I finished reading it, was not happy about it because of all the things I've just mentioned and how it affected me. But I am grateful that I learned about that historical event that happened in the 1800s. We all know, right? You know where I'm going with this. So eventually, not long after, maybe a few months after I finished reading that book, came, 2020, eventually, of course, March 2020, which, most of you know what what actually came to our country and our local people. And yes, people I personally know, who are no longer with us because of the sickness that came. All that to say, what is up with that? And what is the point of me being drawn to a book that portrays something very anxiety causing that I'm reading and going, it's okay, Kendall, it's not like it's actually happening to you. Okay, that's the first story. Let's move on to the second story. The second story is not traumatizing like that one. The second story I have about spooky book coincidences is let me take two. Let me start with I had a dream. You may have seen other videos of mine, feel free to check them out, where I talk about having dreams about people and then them being in a not good situation or being troubled, and then I pray for them, and then sometimes I find out that, actually many times I find out that that person was actually going through the thing relating to what I dreamed about them. I had a dream in, what year was it? I don't know what year it was. Maybe like 2023. Yeah, let's say 2023. I think it was 2023. I had a dream. In the dream, there was like people at war. Oh yeah, it must have been 23 because I was thinking of another big thing in the news that has been ongoing for quite some time, maybe 2022. Anyways, if you know what I'm referencing, you know what I'm referencing. Someone invaded somebody and it's still going on and it's a big deal. Anyways, so I kind of was dreaming and thinking like, oh, maybe I was influenced by that situation because that is kind of what it felt like in my dream. I was dreaming that there was a war going on, and in the dream, I saw a bunch of blue jays in a tree, and there was something in the dream that made me go, oh, it's the blue jays. It's the blue jays. They're, either they were plotting something or they were somehow part of an invasion, part of a battle, part of a war. And I remember waking up and just being like, blue jays in the trees. Like, what does that all mean? Like, I didn't understand. It felt significant, but I was like, I don't understand this. So fast forward to I don't know how long after that same year, I'm at the very same, is it a magical book sale event that I've been going to all this time? Same book sale as the last one where I found the Quilters book. Something to think about. I'm at that book sale, and I am in the section that I normally check first, which is middle grade fantasy books. So I am not reading those as much, but at that time, that was still my go-to. So I'm at the book sale, and I'm looking for books, and I see, again, the spine of a book where I'm like, I can't remember what was on it. Maybe there was a bird on the spine of the book, and it was like, oh, this looks cool. I I pull out the book, and on the front are blue jays with swords, cardinals with swords. Oh, and then there's like a dove with a sword, and it's called Swordbird. And I'm reading the description, and it's all about birds who are involved in a battle with each other. I was like, what? I dreamed about this. So it was about birds that were in a battle with each other, or part of a battle. And I turned to see who the author was. And it's very cool that the author was like a 12-year-old girl. Let me tell you first I'll tell you the title and author so you can Google it and, even read it if you want to. It's called Swordbird by Nancy Yi Fan, Fan. So, so I go to read about Nancy, and she's a kid. Well, at the time that she wrote it, she was a kid. And it was so cool to see, like, wow, a kid wrote and published this book. It was awesome. So there's a part in there where she talks about where did she get the idea to write Swordbird about these birds who are in this epic battle. And she said, it was in like the back cover or whatever, I wrote this book because I had a dream about it. I had a dream about birds in battle. So you tell me what is going on there. I did buy that book because I was like, I remembered what happened with the quilting one, and I'm like, I still don't get the whole thing with the birds, and I don't get what that means. But I was like, clearly I need to have this book. I read the book. It was like, maybe if I was a kid, I would have liked it more, but it just wasn't quite for me, which is fine. But I read it, and there were no significant connections to anything. It just was a book that I read. The only thing I can figure is, like, after I read it, I think I said something to my sister-in-law about it, and I told her the story about the book and how it was written by like a 12-year-old author, a 12-year-old girl. And my sister-in-law said, oh, wow, my niece, like on the other side, or the niece, no. Yeah, on her side. Anyways, a niece somewhere, her cousins, so it would be also my husband's cousin. So their cousin's daughter wanted to be an author. And so I, said like, oh, well, maybe this was meant to be a recommendation for her to see that, like, yeah, kids can be authors. I mean, I don't know. I'm stretching here. I'm really stretching it because I want it to mean something. Because right now, I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means. I will give you a third thing that happened with the book. It's not spooky. In fact, it's very meaningful to me. I was at, again, this same book sale a year or two later. Wow. Why did I not think? Okay, there's something magical about this book sale. I'm going to have to keep an eye on this thing. Because my third story, which, again, it's not spooky. It just came to me as I was telling you about these things. Like, oh yeah, I had another thing connected with a book. Just different. Not like, I'll just tell you. I was at this event that has the book sale at it, and it has like, food booths and, a flea market, and like, it's this whole big event that happens every summer. So my husband and I were there, and normally he and I just kind of wander around, we take our time, and eventually we end up at the book sale part of this event. But I was feeling an extremely strong sense of urgency that I needed to get to the book sale. I couldn't explain it. I was like, it's not like they're closed. It's not like I'm going to miss it. Like, this thing is going all afternoon. And I tried to like shake it off and be like, stop being anxious, Kendall. Like, don't worry about it. You guys will get to the book sale eventually. And we were at these other things. I think we had gotten ice cream or something. And I could not shake the sense that I needed to get to the book sale right now. I need to go. And I told my husband, I was like, I know this sounds weird, but I feel like I'm really supposed to get over to the book sale part. So can I meet you over there? Because he was still wanting to, I can't remember if he was chatting with someone or wanting to go get more food. I can't remember what it was. But I was like, can I meet you over there? I really feel like I'm supposed to get over there like now. He was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. Because he also has his own share of stories where he has sensed things or like known things. You know what? I never said. I have other videos about me kind of like knowing things, and I'll link them below. You can check them out if you're interested. But anyway, so all that to say, he understood and didn't think it was weird. He was like, yeah, no problem. I'll meet you there. No problem. I get over to the books and I am looking, I'm going through the rows and just kind of like, okay, like, why did I need to get here? I don't get it. But here I am, you know? So I'm looking at books and I'm going through the row and one, again, the spine of the book catches my eye. I think it had probably an owl on it. I have it on my shelf somewhere. Of course, I can't see it now. It's somewhere or behind these. Anyway, it's on the shelf. I should have gotten it down, but I didn't think of it ahead of time. Somewhere on there is the book that I'm talking about, and I will never be giving this book away because of the significance of this story. Anyway, somewhere on there, you may be able to, I'll show you someday. I think it has an owl on the spine, and so I like owls. So I was like, woo, what's this? So I pick it up and I look, and it's a nonfiction story about a man who keeps an owl and, you know, the shenanigans they get up to or whatever. And I looked and I was like, well, I kind of already read a different book that had a similar thing, but I don't need this. And I put it down and I was like, and then I'd go a few steps away and I was like, actually, I need to get back to that book. Again, that same thing of, I need to get back to that book. So I go back to that book and I pull it out again and I'm standing there holding it and like, I should just get this book. Like, look at it. And it had a cool cover. And I wish I could tell you the name of it so I'm hooked up to a mic here. Otherwise, anyways, I don't want to pull the microphone off and do the whole thing and look for it. Anyways, I was looking at the cover, which again was pretty cool, I thought. As I'm holding this book and looking at it, I can see, like, out of my peripheral vision that someone is walking towards me. And I'm like, okay, you know, like in a book sale or in a store, if two people are browsing and you kind of come up near each other, one of you, usually the one moving, comes up and then goes around and continues browsing, right? Sometimes you have a little thing where you both move around each other or whatever. But I was kind of feeling this thing of like, what is happening? Like, and so I just kind of stood there and I held the book and was kind of like, this person is not, I don't know, it didn't seem normal. So I was paying attention and like, what's happening? What's happening? And I could sense that the person was walking and like not acting like they were going to go around. So I kind of glance over and it's actually an older woman, like maybe, late 80s. She looked like she could have been in her late 80s, maybe early 90s. And she was by herself at this book sale in the heat of the summer. She was alone and she was coming towards me and she had her hand on the table as she was walking. And I'm realizing like, oh, she's kind of unsteady. And then finally she comes very close to me, and then I'm kind of like, and then she does start to go around me, but then she starts to like topple and like starts to begin to fall. And I set down the book and I was like, oh my goodness. And so I'm trying to like hold her up. I was behind her or next to her or something. And thankfully she was a very light, thin older woman. But because I don't know if I could have held her otherwise, but she was starting to fall. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then I look at the aisle next to me and there's like a, I don't know, 19, 20-year-old guy nearby. And I was like, hey, can you get a chair, please? And he runs off and he gets a folding chair and he comes back and he puts it behind her. And we both get her into the chair. And then thankfully right there by the tent was the, I guess like health, aware people. There was an ambulance just parked there for like these types of situations, I suppose. So they were right there and probably somebody saw what was going on. So like people from the ambulance start running over and they start talking to her and like, okay, let's, do this, get this going. And so I just kind of like, okay, she's in good hands. I picked up the book and I just kind of wandered off and I shopped. I kept shopping, but I kept trying to like, pay attention. Like, is she okay? I mean, they eventually got her on a stretcher and got her, they took her in the ambulance, and I'm hoping she was just dehydrated from the day, and that it wasn't anything more serious. But here's why I'm telling you this story. This one is not a spooky coincidence, and it's not spooky because, and honestly, the other ones aren't spooky. They're just, I'm trying to be like clever with the titles and see if people are interested in that and want to see what that's about. So this one, I would not call this an unexplained, like what was going on with the books. After that happened, I thought about what would have happened if I continued to ignore that sense that I needed to get to the books. Because it's not like it was a super crowded book sale. Literally, if that woman had fallen and I wasn't there to help ease her fall or ease her situation, she would have hit her head either on the table or on the ground. If she took a full, she would have fallen all the way down. So, I don't know what happened to her. I hope she's okay. This was a couple of years ago, so I don't know, a few years ago now, but depending on if it was 2022 or 2023, I'm not sure. Anyways, all that to say, if I ignored that sense of urgency, then she could have gotten much more seriously hurt. And, if I hadn't, well, here's the one thing. If I hadn't felt a sense of urgency and if I hadn't gone back to look at that owl book, because I was kind of like, okay, I'm done here at the book sale. Like, whatever, I'm looking and I'm done. I was going to leave that section of the book sale. I wouldn't have been there. There wouldn't have been anyone there in that aisle to help her. So, that book coincidence, I'm grateful for because I can look back on it and go, okay, I see purpose in that. The other two, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Also, would you like to hear about the other like dreams and sensing of things coming that I've had? If that's your thing, I will leave links to those videos there. There you go. They say to be yourself on the internet and just like risk it all. So I'm risking it by saying like, this is real. Again, as I've said in my other videos about this type of stuff, I could just be a random person on the internet making up stories for clicks. I'm not doing that. So but only those of you who know me or have been like watching my videos and interacting with me, only you will know for sure that I am not someone who makes this stuff up. Like, this is all real. So those of you who know me, there you go. It's real and that stuff happened. So what do you make of it? I am already someone who believes there's more going on in the world than what our eyes can see. But hey, I'm presenting this to you to hopefully, if you ever doubted the existence of supernatural things in the world, and that kind of bummed you out and you were like, I wish there was more going on. Like, hey, take heart in these stories. Now, if you're a skeptic and you're like, whatever, you're just a random person on the internet, this all could be made up, I can't argue with you. But it's all real. This stuff really happened. I think that's the end of my video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to check out my other videos. Feel free to check out my Buy Me a Coffee membership site. You can either make monthly contributions if you are not on a tight budget. The lowest amount starts at $2 a month. Or you can do like one-time donations. Thank you again so much to those of you who do contribute through there. Feel free to subscribe. I'm really trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers plus my 4,000 watch hours. So thank you for watching this and helping me with that. And what else? Oh, my gratitude journal, the Honest Gratitude Journal, which leaves space for you to talk about things that were hard from your day, difficult, but also space for writing down what you are grateful for. So it gives you space to acknowledge both. I'll have links to all the stuff in the description. Have you ever had like a weird book coincidence thing? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I kind of like those stories because they are weird and they validate that like there's something else going on, right? So anyways, I was going to say happy Halloween. I wanted to do this on Halloween, but then I didn't because, you know, we had a lot going on and now it's after Halloween and I caught a cold and I want to do a video. Having a cold doesn't have to do with anything. I am done with this video. Wrap it up. Bye.